We walked into restaurants expecting comfort, warmth, and human care, but what we saw instead left us shocked, dismayed, and quietly furious. If you've eaten out recently and felt something was off but couldn't explain it, this story will put words to that feeling. Subscribe now, because once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it, and neither should anyone else. We are shocked and dismayed by what we see at restaurants, not because the food is worse than before, not because prices have risen, and not even because service has slowed, but because something deeper has changed, something almost invisible yet impossible to ignore once you notice it. It begins the moment you walk through the door, when no one looks up, when the host is staring into a screen as if receiving instructions from somewhere else, when your presence feels like an interruption rather than a welcome. You stand there awkwardly, unsure whether to speak, unsure whether you are supposed to seat yourself, unsure whether anyone actually wants you there. This is not hospitality. This is processing. Once, restaurants were places of human rhythm. There was eye contact. There was tone. There was the subtle dance of being cared for by someone who understood that food is not just fuel but ritual. Now you are handed a laminated QR code like a hospital wristband, and the message is clear: do not speak unless necessary, do not ask questions, do not slow the system down. Your phone becomes the waiter. Your silence becomes the expectation. We sit at tables where families once talked and watch parents scroll while children chew mechanically. Couples stare at opposite sides of the same screen, ordering separately, paying separately, living separately while sitting inches apart. No one seems to notice anymore. Or maybe everyone notices but no one knows how to say it out loud without sounding old, bitter, or nostalgic. But this isn't nostalgia. This is loss. The menus are bloated with options yet empty of soul. Everything tastes optimized, focus grouped, algorithmically safe. Salt here, sugar there. The same sauces appear in different disguises across different cuisines, as if the world has agreed to 5 acceptable flavor profiles and nothing more. You realize you could blindfold yourself and eat in 5 different restaurants and barely tell the difference. Diversity has become cosmetic. And then there are the workers. We are shocked not just by how they serve, but by how they look. Exhausted, hollowed out, running on scripts rather than instinct. Smiling because the training manual says to smile, not because anything inside them feels warm. They are timed, tracked, rated, surveilled. A bad review can cost them shifts. A moment of honesty can cost them a job. So they move fast, say little, and protect themselves by becoming invisible. Behind the kitchen doors, the chaos hums. Microwaves scream, timers beep, frozen bags are torn open and poured into pans with the efficiency of an assembly line. The romance of cooking has been replaced by logistics. Recipes are no longer learned, they are executed. Creativity is a liability. Speed is king. Waste is sin. Profit margins rule every decision. We tell ourselves this is just the price of convenience. We wanted fast. We wanted cheap. We wanted endless choice. And so the system gave us exactly what we asked for, stripping away everything that couldn't be measured, scaled, or automated. What we didn't realize was that the first thing to go would be dignity, both ours and theirs. We are dismayed by how quickly we adapted, how easily we accepted it, how rarely we question why a meal now feels transactional instead of nourishing. Why leaving a tip feels like participating in a moral dilemma rather than a gesture of gratitude. Why restaurants feel louder yet lonelier than ever before. There is something deeply unsettling about watching a server apologize for things completely out of their control. For prices they didn't set. For delays caused by understaffed kitchens. For policies written by people who never set foot on the floor during a rush. We watch them absorb frustration like shock absorbers for a system that refuses accountability. And then there's the waste. Mountains of it. Plates scraped into bins, untouched food thrown away while prices climb and portions shrink. Perfectly edible meals discarded because they don't meet aesthetic standards. Plastic wrapped around plastic wrapped around plastic, all for a meal that lasts 10 minutes and leaves behind guilt that lingers longer than the taste. We are shocked by how little conversation there is about any of this. Food influencers gush over presentation while ignoring conditions. Review apps reduce lived experiences into stars and emojis. A complex ecosystem of labor, culture, and care gets flattened into a number. We've replaced curiosity with convenience, patience with entitlement. Sometimes you catch glimpses of the old world. A small place where the owner still cooks. A server who remembers your name. A dish that tastes like someone cared whether you enjoyed it. These moments feel almost rebellious now, like acts of quiet resistance against a system that says everything must be fast, scalable, and profitable or it doesn't deserve to exist. And when those places disappear, as many do, we mourn them briefly and then move on, scrolling for the next option, the next deal, the next novelty. We rarely ask what kind of world we are building when the simple act of sharing a meal becomes so hollow. We are dismayed not because restaurants are failing, but because they are succeeding at the wrong thing. They are efficient, they are optimized, they are profitable, and yet they feel empty. They reveal something uncomfortable about us, that we are willing to trade connection for convenience again and again, even when it leaves us unsatisfied. This isn't about blaming workers. It isn't about shaming customers. It's about recognizing a quiet erosion happening in plain sight. A place that once taught us patience, gratitude, and togetherness has been reduced to a transaction we rush through before returning to our screens. And the most shocking part is this: we keep going back, hoping it will feel different this time, hoping that somehow the magic will return without us having to change anything about how we consume, how we treat people, or how much we're willing to slow down. But magic doesn't survive in systems that punish slowness. And what we see at restaurants now is not just about food. It's a mirror, and what it reflects should disturb us far more than it currently does. If this story made you uncomfortable, that's the point. Discomfort is where awareness begins. Share this with someone who's felt the same unease but couldn't name it. Comment with your own experiences. Support places that still value people over process. And most importantly, subscribe, because stories like this don't exist to entertain, they exist to wake us up.